All right, there we go.
Sweet.
And we're live.
Mm-hmm.
And let's do it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to That Pixel Life, the gaming podcast that wants to help you and your loved ones with your gaming addiction disorder. So please call our toll-free number at 888-987-1679 to start your healing process today. That's actually a real number. I'm not bullshitting. That's a real gaming addiction number. So more on that here shortly. This is episode 11, and we are back to our usual format this week. So we'll be taking a look at some games like Hollow Knight, Yoku's Island Express, the Octopath Traveler Dim, a lot of Nintendo Switch stuff this week. So I apologize if you're not a Nintendo Switch fan, but hopefully you'll find something fun in there still. We're also going to be talking about what I just referenced there as well, that gaming addiction nonsense has been talked about a lot this week that some people are kind of hating on, some people are agreeing with. We'll see if what we have to say about it here shortly. My name is Josh Faulkner. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. Zach is out, unfortunately. He had to go to Vegas, apparently. So he's having fun.
Had to go to Vegas.
Had to go to Vegas. I like that.
I wish I had to go to Vegas. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, me too. I've never been to Vegas. So I've always wanted to go. So.
Oh, man, you gotta go.
You gotta go, and you gotta go with Zach, because I'll tell you honestly, the last time I went with Zach, I probably burned through about $3,000 in a night. So yeah, it was rough.
With Zach.
I was gonna say we went that first night, and I woke up the second day after shaking off that alcohol-induced like funk that I was in, and I was just like, "Oh, Maggie, we can't do anything. No more fun.
We can't get married now. We can't afford the wedding."
The nightlife down there just sounds like fun. You know, it's just like
so
partying and hookers and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Whoa!
They're not hookers. They're ladies of the night. Okay,
they're unionized over there, right?
Yeah, they got as they should be.
Yeah,
legalized prostitution, y'all.
Yes, but we have Shannon Moore there. Hi, Shannon.
Hey, what's going on, Josh?
How you doing, man?
This has been the week from hell. So
yeah, my week's been rough too. If you guys are listening, haven't noticed, we pushed this episode back a day because I've been having some work troubles this week, and it was just really hard for me to record on Wednesday night like we normally do. And then we lost Zach today, so it's like, damn it. But what's going on, Shannon?
Well, you know, as with the elevator industry, sometimes you have your ups and sometimes you have your downs.
Bam.
And I was gonna say this week had a lot of downs. Just when you think you can hit like the bottom floor, like it shows you that there's like so much further down you can go. So I've burned through about 4 apprentices in the past 2 weeks, and it's not really. We're just really busy out here in California as far as elevators go. So the qualified people, they get bumped up and given their jobs, and you know, good to them. But I get these newbies, and let me tell you, when you get into a union and you're doing a big boy job, it would probably behoove you to stop doing drugs for maybe like a month if you really want to get into this industry. So
Peeps just failing drug tests, or what's going on, man?
Like, yeah, I had this one, and he was working out really good, but like, you know, he just ended up not passing that screening test. So
gotta smoke that reef.
I know, dude. We had to kind of
some math. Yeah.
So you know, I don't know what.
I hope not.
But you know, it was a very awkward work day when like you're starting your work, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I gotta go," and you're just like, "Well, why?" "Oh, I'm fired." "For what?" I don't know. I didn't pass my drug test." Oh, come on, dude.
Wow. They
Really?
hired him pre-drug test too. They had a lot of faith in him. That sucks, man.
A lot of places do. My old job, they used to do that. They would hire you first and get you started and trained, and then when the test came back or the background check or whatever, then they would just boot you.
That's a tremendous waste of resources, in my opinion. Why waste all that? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing out here too, is like our union is really hard to get into, and it's like state run almost, like, you know, as far as getting in. So you have to take a test, then you have to wait like 6 months for everybody to take the test and get your results. Then you get put on an interview list, and then you get interviewed by some union members of ours and some company members. So it's kind of like an equal ranking. So based off of the score you got on your test and the score you got on the interview, you get put in a numbered ranking system on the list. And we close the list at like, I think it's like 500 people. So that's our pool of people that we get to go through for the next year or until we deplete that list. So, you know, he went through all that work, like probably spent like close to like 8 months, like just prepping and working and getting ready and getting himself all set up. And then bam, like just lost it all in 3 days. And so it's, you know, it's a bummer to see that because like, you know, we make pretty good money and he just lost it all.
Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. And if you do drugs, don't get addicted to drugs long enough to where you can't pass a drug test. Like, just
right?
Take a break.
It makes the high better. Yeah, do better at hiding it. So.
Yeah, buy some pee.
Yeah, buy some pee. Yeah,
buy some pee.
Get that shit in the refrigerator, stacked when you need it.
No, dude, you gotta tape it to the inside of your leg so it gets like the temperature, and then you gotta.
I've only heard stories. I swear, I've only heard stories.
Apparently, I'm not up on my pee swapping game here. So. All right. Well, we learned a lot about the elevator industry today.
Yeah, you know, I drop bombs every once in a while.
Yeah, you do. We have Elena Grimm here as well. Hi, Elena.
What's up, y'all?
Tell us about the industry that you're in.
I am not going to tell you about my industry, but I am going to tell you that I am climbing that metaphorical ladder. So, or maybe the elevator. I'm just taking that elevator up because I'm climbing real quick at work. So I'm pretty happy. Yeah, I told you guys I took the mobile last week, which is basically like I'm responsible for the entire company after hours, and it's cool, man. It's awesome. It's nerve-wracking, but oh, dude, I know, especially because I'll be out like eating L&L barbecue. It's sponsored, by the way. Not just no, I'll be out. I'll be out eating food, and I'll get a call from one of my employees, and I'll have to deal with it in real time, and it is nerve-wracking, but it's really rewarding because being able to prevent problems in real time is pretty sweet, you know. And that pay raise is also nice too. So
makes you feel important.
Yeah, yeah. Having 2 phones too. I feel like a bougie bitch. That's awesome.
I had my last job. I was on call after hours, and I carried around 2 iPhones, and I thought I would be awesome with 2 iPhones. I fucking hated carrying around 2 phones.
Yeah, just 2 to break, 2 to lose. Yeah. 2 to worry about.
I hated stuffing them both in my pockets like all the time. And
double the rate. You have pockets to fucking stuff them in. I ain't got nothing. Like, what am I putting them in those business slacks? Like, I ain't got no pockets. I wish.
You get one of those Gucci we call fanny packs that people are all about right now.
Fanny packs are coming back in style, y'all.
Gucci's got like $2,000 fanny packs are selling.
Get up on that Gucci poochie.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, so let's do some housekeeping before we actually talk about video games here. Head over to thatpixellife.com if you can get all the links that we're about to describe here. So say that first and foremost. But you guys can follow us on Twitter at thatpixellife if you guys want show updates and gaming tweets and all kinds of stuff from us. And you can use that to communicate with us as well. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, and you can get video versions of these podcasts. You can also subscribe to us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/thatpixellife. And if you want to help out the show, keep us running and get some cool incentives for doing so, that is the place to do it. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher and iHeartRadio and all that stuff as well. Don't forget to drop us an iTunes review as well if you guys don't mind. That really helps. We got some more this week, but unfortunately they didn't leave comments. They just gave us 5-star reviews and peaced out, which I'm definitely not complaining about. We will take them. Also, before we get started, I wanted to mention that Robbie Stelton Pole's baby was born this week. So I didn't post any pictures just because I didn't know if he wanted us to or not. Because I didn't see any on his Twitter page, so they were mostly on his Facebook page. So I out of respect to him, we didn't post any pictures. But it is a boy. He named it Elijah Kenobi Stelton Pole.
That's sick.
So he had to sneak the Star Wars reference in his name.
Yeah.
Which is Kenobi is actually kind of a cool middle name. Like
I think so too.
I'm not hating on that at all. But yeah, he's doing great, and they're all seem to be in good shape. And I'm sure he's not getting any sleep right now. So. But yeah, super congrats to Robbie and his wife. So
my heart goes out to your sleep schedule. Rip.
Yes, I hope everything's going well, and hopefully you're surviving over there in newborn land. All right, so let's get to it now, guys. Since Zach's not here today, we actually had a big industry buzz segment set up that we're really going to dive deep into, but we decided not to without Zach because Zach has a very good insight in like the industry and like the business happenings and stuff like that. And we kind of wanted him here for that topic before we dive too deep into that. So we decided not to do that this week, and we're going to move that to next week. So I'm not going to spoil it, what it is yet, but so not going to have a big industry section this week, but we do have a lot to talk about in our weekly consultation segment. But first off, I wanted to talk about what I referenced when we opened this podcast here. The WHO, which is the World Health Organization, classified a new mental health disorder that they're calling a gaming addiction disorder. Now, this is pretty much like any other addiction, like alcohol and all that other jazz, but it's people that are addicted to video games. I'm surprised this hasn't happened before. Does this surprise you guys that this is now just a thing?
I'm not surprised that it's. I'm not super certain. What were you going to say, Shannon?
No, I mean, I'm surprised that it's been fueled by the news as much as it has with everything else that's been going on. It's like, why bring so much attention to it right now? I mean, even the World Health Organization, when you look at their website, it still says it's fairly premature. It's a premature classification, but it's becoming they're concerned about the growth of it. It's not really something that they've deemed to be that much of a disorder as of yet. They said something like there's like 200 million gamers in the world, and this only really affects like 3% of the population of gamers. But I think they put it out there to make people aware of it.
Yeah, because there's people that flat out are skeptical about this. I'm not talking about like the public, like gamers and whatnot. I'm talking about like health professionals,
right,
that are skeptical about this whole thing. Like they don't quite know if that's legit or not. Do you guys think? I want to know what you guys feel about this. Like, do you feel like the gaming addiction is a real thing, or do you think that this is just another recent blame video games on everything because we don't want to really blame it on the real problems kind of stuff?
Well, didn't they do this in the 90s with video games back when I think what the ESRB was developed or whatever? And then with CDs back when I was a little kid, that's when they had the parental advisory stickers. So I feel like it's just back in style. Maybe that's why, but I'm always the conspiracy theorist, and I always pay attention to what's going on politically when things like this come out. And I'm not about to get political on this podcast, nor do I want to get political in my private life, but we have to be aware of what's going on outside of this as well, and kind of be like, okay, what's in the media? What's going on right now? What's, why are we creating a sensation about what? And just always be, hyper vigilant about stuff like that, especially in recent years for me.
Yeah. And, I was in doing my research. I came across an article on CNN, and they came out with a really nice. I mean, it's very well put together. It talks about the characteristics of the gaming disorder and how it is referenced in the I forget. It's the International Classification of Diseases. Where the statistics are, and then it actually was classified through the World Health Organization as a disorder. But in that article, just to kind of give you some cliff notes, they talked primarily about there's more to the gaming than there. It's such a broad stroke right now that it's hard to actually classify that. And they said it actually is kind of a slippery slope, because the way that the World Health Organization describes it is it's just a impaired control over gaming, increased priority given to gaming over other activities to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other interests in daily activities. So
that's
if you,
me, like that's us.
So,
that's
I mean,
very broad.
You look at anybody who has gaming as a hobby, and when you have downtime and you want to play video games, I mean, technically you could be doing something else. I mean, if you're watching football too much, or you're going into the statistics and the actual play mechanics of the game, that could be classified as an addictive behavior for football, or a disorder for football. So you have to kind of take the you kind of can't give such a broad stroke to a disorder. You have to pinpoint it.
I agree. And then it goes into disorder versus disease versus addiction. And it's just, I get that there's so many gray areas, but I feel like the World Health Organization's description is a really, really broad stroke of the brush. And there definitely needs to be some more concise, specifications, if that makes any sense. Like, nah.
Yeah. I mean, it really came down to, even from the qualified people that they had in that article, that CNN article, they said most of the time you're looking at somebody who has a video game quote unquote disorder, there's an outlying factor that's causing it. Most of the people that have video game disorders or are in that range are dealing with some type of depression or anxiety
Right.
in some other
So it's
situation.
escapism, like
Yeah.
Yes.
to try
They're
to get away from.
self-medicating.
Yes. So in order to correctly diagnose the individual, you have to look at the genre of game that they're playing. Are they playing like a World of Warcraft type
What?
game? Are they playing like a more a Minecraft type game? Like there are different types of genres that they say different types of people with different types of outlying factors are playing that's helping them cope with their
Wow.
disorders.
I didn't think about that. So I can imagine somebody who has like maybe like a hoarding problem would be really big in Minecraft because it, you know, it kind of involves that type of like, you know, structure or something like that. That's crazy.
So you're
Yeah.
saying the gaming addiction could be something else entirely, and that's just a layer on top of it.
Yeah,
Like a
exactly.
coping
And
mechanism.
that's what they're saying is you're just kind of lumping a whole bunch of people into a classification that might not be the best. You're not dealing with the problem. You're dealing with the video game portion of it, but you're not dealing with what's causing them to play the video game. So if you're just, you know, teaching, I mean, basically what you're doing is you're treating the condition and not the illness. So I think what they're saying is, you know, before you lump somebody into that specific situation, you should look at what other factors are, like Elena said, what other factors are in their life or in the atmosphere that they're in, what they're going through on their day-to-day lives, because that's probably going to lead you to something that's a little bit more substantial and diagnosable rather than just a generic video game, like a disorder, a video game addiction.
Yeah, because what are they classifying here as an actual disorder? Like, is it like I just play a lot of video games, or is it like, oh my god, I need my fix? Like I'm sweating and I'm going into convulsions or something because I'm not playing. Like how bad does it have to be in order for this to be classified as a gaming addiction? You know what I mean?
So I actually I have this quote from this guy, Professor Mark Griffiths. I did some research, and he's the director of the International Gaming Research Unit at Nottingham Trent University. And he said in a quote, he's like, I've published more papers on video game addiction than anybody else in the world. And he essentially said that like they use it to self-medicate, they use it for the highs and the lows. And he's not talking, he even said at one point, he said, I'm not talking about kids who play 3 to 4 hours a day. He said that has nothing to do with gaming disorder. He said, quote, we're talking about something that completely comprises or compromises that person's life. It's something where people have withdrawal symptoms if they can't engage in the behavior. They built up a tolerance, which is kind of crazy for me. How do you build up a tolerance to playing video games?
Yeah.
And he says you need more and more to get that mood modifying effect. And they're basically using it to self-medicate. Like they can use it to get buzzed up highs or to get, you know, to tranquilize themselves, to numb themselves. It just varies depending on the person. So it just depends. There's so many, like I said, there's so many gray areas. How do you...
And
I haven't even thought of it in this way until you guys just started spewing this stuff at me. Now I'm like, now my head's all like spinning, you know? Because
yeah, I know. I was just gonna say, there's a lot of when I first heard it on the news, and I messaged you guys about this, and I was like, "Oh my god, here we go with the same old bullshit," and it kind of pissed me off. So I started to do like this really deep dive, and you know, it's amazing, you know, when you're pushed to do that, like what you can find out about the topic. What I hated though, and news channels do this all the time, is that they over dramatize everything, and they, in their attempt to create this fear or to create this allure, they bring in all these people who, while they do have certifications in other fields, they don't have or understand the world of video gaming. So they look at it from a topical level, and then they give you this topical advice, and they throw out there, like even one guy I saw, he threw out like the loot box problem, where it created like this gambling addiction because like people were getting randomized, you know, things, and it gave you this carrot on a stick to keep coming back or to keep putting money into the game.
See, that's what I thought maybe triggered a lot of this, is because people were getting hooked on loot boxes, but that's a gambling addiction, not necessarily a video game addiction.
Exactly. And that's what kind of started this whole deep dive for me, is just to find out like what's actually classifying it. And I mean, even on like that CNN article that I keep referring to, I mean, they even say in the article, like everybody who they've talked to or primarily who are trying to tackle this subject right now, like don't play video games, only know what video games are out there by what's in the news or what's, you know, trending with their kids. So they don't really have a clear concept or a clear picture of what's actually happening in that gaming universe. And they're just, you know, they're just trying to be the first one on that, you know, try to be that first reliable source, and none of them are really hitting the mark at this moment right now.
Right, they're not offering up the same level of expertise that's like needed and it's not expected anymore. And that's the thing that frustrates me the most about like modern media. It's become like so focused on sensationalism, and just like you said, Shannon, on being the first one there, even if they have to apologize later for mistakes they've made or misquotes or this or that. They don't value the conversation, they don't value the discourse. You know, journalism, and I used to be a journalism major before I decided that this is the mess that it is now. It's not about the conversation. It's just about how many, you know, clicks can we get, how many views, how much stir can we cause, are we going to be in the news the next day, you know, are we going to be trending? And it's we need to focus on what's relevant rather than what's going to get hits, you know what I mean? And I feel like big news media, you know, networks need to focus on that more than anything. And we just don't across the board, like as a nation, in America in particular. I can't comment on other nations, but it's frustrating. It's hard. I have trouble watching television because of it, especially like news networks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I can see how people can be addicted to gaming. Like, I mean, is it like a mental disorder though? Or are you just being a lazy asshole?
Or like a conditional disorder, you know what I mean?
Because every time that I can think of where I was really addicted to something that was gaming related, I was just being a lazy asshole. You just really enjoyed it. I just really enjoyed it. And that's what, you know, I thought about a lot, and I just wanted to play, but I never thought of it. Like, it was always something that was easily for me to disconnect from, you know, like I can realize, like, you know what, I think I'm spending too much time with this shit. I need to get outside and get some fresh air.
Probably not addiction then. So that's the thing too. And it's all about, you know, this is where it's really important to get terminology correct and things along those lines. But that definitely isn't addiction. And I do think gaming addiction exists. I can think about people in my personal life from when I was a child. Like, I used to have, I think it was one of my boyfriends at the time's brothers, who from the time he woke up in the morning to the time he went to bed at night, he was on his PC playing World of Warcraft. He had a girlfriend who he moved in who played with him, and she would come over and they wouldn't speak at all. Like, they wouldn't exchange words in the slightest, but they were talking mid game, and they both clearly had an addiction. It was to the point where they were irritable when they weren't, you know, playing a video game. They would eat at their desk. It was their life. It consumed them. So I'm not disputing that it exists. I just think that I don't know. I do think that there's not enough research, and I don't think the World Health Organization did enough, I guess, you know, fine tuning, if that makes any sense. Like, they really need to get the terminology right and really figure out a way to diagnose this correctly, because otherwise it'll be diagnosed across the board. I have it. You have it. You know, I can't tell you how many people have it just by this broad generalization that they made, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the WHO's website under gaming disorder, the class of like what is gaming disorder in their section is essentially 2 paragraphs. Like, that's it. Like, everything else is, why did we put this in here? Why is it included? Like, why are we printing this in the 11th rendition?
Why are we getting defensive?
Yeah, like,
because maybe it's not super tremendously valid, but
yeah,
I do think it exists. I just think that the kinks need to be worked out before we, you know, go getting into the fine print.
Well, also, before you start jumping on the bandwagon too, I mean, like, the one thing that the WHO got right is that they said that you need to observe this behavior for 12 months. Like, you can't have anything under a 12-month window before classifying it as a gaming disorder.
Okay, that's a good out. I like that.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, while it's still in its early stages, you know, at least they got it right. Like, you can't just classify this right away. There's got to be like a track record, at least a 12-month track record of this happening.
Right, because gaming, I mean, disorders overall aren't something that appears suddenly. It's always something that happens over time and is kind of developed. So that makes sense. Good on them.
I just wonder what the medication for gaming addiction would be.
Dude, they showed it on it wasn't a medication, but they showed there's an actual in California. There's a gaming rehab, like Betty Ford clinic type thing.
Wow.
Where like you go there and you're not allowed phones, you're not allowed any type of like anything you can download a game on, like you're not allowed to have. And they
I just got like
basically
this flashback of Full Metal Jacket. Remember when they find Private Pyle's donut? A Game Boy? Is this a Game Boy? Like, yeah, if you're in rehab, I snuck it in, man. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wonder what that would be like, man. Like gaming rehab. Like, what do you do? Play tennis and.
That's what I was thinking. Like a regular rehab, you just.
That's what it was. It's like you go to there's like personal trainers there, and you go to the gym, and they teach you how to like get back in shape. You go you like go on nature walks.
Teams at this point, like.
So all gamers are fat assholes now.
I'm not throwing that caveat out there, but like I'm just saying like your posture is probably bad if you've been sitting in front of a computer for like 18 hours a day playing video games for like, a year.
Tell that to my curved spine. Oh no.
My scoliosis. my self-inflicted scoliosis. Thanks, Xbox.
No, I played so many video games as a kid in such a weird, shitty position. And you can ask my dad about this, but I actually had a doctor tell me I had to stop doing certain exercises in PE class because of the way I had fucked my back up. So I basically had to take what's it called? Like a sabbatical almost. You know what I mean? Like I had to take a fat break.
Are you 12. One of those people that always leans forward when you're playing a game? Because I do that quite often.
So for the longest time, because I was around for not the birth of the internet. I don't know when the birth of the internet was, but I was around 11.
Yeah, 97, 98.
Let's get in that fight. But no, I mean, I was around for the very beginning of it in a lot of ways, and I was a child during that time, so I was really, really, really into it, and I would spend, this is internet addiction at this point. This isn't even gaming addiction, although I was doing a lot of gaming. You can't see it unless you have the webcam, but I would basically sit with my knees to my chest because the PC was in the living room, and that's where my father slept at the time. And not the living room, the dining room was connected to the living room, and that's where he slept, or something along the living room, whatever. So that's where he slept. And so I would have to keep a blanket over the PC. And you remember those fat monitors? They're not flat. They weren't.
The CRTs.
So I was basically like a fire hazard. I had the blanket over the monitor, and I was like crouched, like hidden basically. And I messed up my back real bad. I would basically start to recline as I was in that position, and my back was just so curved in such a strange way, not necessarily slouching, but it was not good. And I would do that for months, hours on end for months at a time. And eventually I was like, why does my back hurt? Why am I in so much pain? I'm 12 years old. This hurts. It was rough, man. It was, looking back on it, that's pretty substantial. So I probably could have gone to some rehab at that point.
Now you're going to give the news ideas for more gamer problems, like gamer spine syndrome or something.
Yeah, it'll be something else. I was looking at Nintendinitis or something like that. It's basically it's some kind of like thumb thing where you get when you play on the D-pad too much. And I'm just sitting here like, man.
Wasn't there something like that when the Wii was out? It was like Wii wrist or something?
Yeah.
Bowling or whatever.
Were some of the symptoms breaking your television, or were those some of the side effects, or was that?
Yeah, dislodging your wrist or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think we just jumped onto a treasure trove. I think we need to just TM like a whole bunch of different types of itises for like video game related things. Yeah, and that way, anytime somebody uses it, we can just go after them and get some money. Get that.
Oh gosh.
Money. Yep. Sounds good to me.
So we I don't know if you guys want to talk about this at all, but I did notice a couple of news stories about violence in video games. Do you guys want to talk about that at all? Because
sure.
I think
I love violence. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I don't That's one thing I'm really skeptical about. I grew up with some really, really gory video games, and I don't know if any of you out there have been watching the news, but that's more or less what has been the sensational topic of the week or of the month, which is, violence, in video games is making your kids violent in real life. And I grew up with some pretty violent video games, and I understand the graphics are better now, and it's more gory, and I get that, but come on, y'all, like, nah.
Oh, so you're talking about like the school shooting stuff, like how they're kind of blaming games for these school shootings, right? Is that where you're going with this?
More or less, yeah. I've seen it in the news as well, where basically they're piggybacking off of this topic and being like, well, here's another reason you shouldn't play video games. It's making your kids violent. And I'm just sitting here shaking my head like, anything in excess will cause issues. You know what I mean? Like, I hardly doubt your son is violent in school because of, a video game he played. I'm sure just like Shannon said, I'm sure there are a lot of factors you need to consider before you move forward with that accusation. Like,
well, this may not be a popular opinion, but for me, like, I just feel like I don't know enough to really make that decision whether or not I think that it can. Like, I don't have the studies, the research or anything like that. Like, I can see how it may make kids, a little more violent, or not make them violent, but desensitize them more.
I can get on board with that. Yeah.
I'm not going to say
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing sometimes, especially in regards to like nudity and stuff, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But
yeah, it just, I see people argue this all the time that, people are saying, oh yeah, games make you violent. No, they don't. And I just don't have enough data for me to really make that decision. For me personally, what I go by is myself. And I grew up with, when I was growing up, we didn't really have violent video games. The first thing I remembered was Mortal Kombat. And I don't remember how old I was when Mortal Kombat came out. I was probably 10 or 11 or something like that. And even though today's standards, you look at that and it just looks stupid, it's all pixelated and not realistic at all. But back then, that was the huge, hubbub that everyone was making about video games. And even through my teenage years and everything, I played all those shooters and all that stuff, moving up to the PlayStation era and the PS2 and all that stuff. And I don't have a violent bone in my body.
Do you feel like it desensitized you, though, to violence? Like, when you witnessed violence in real life, was it less jarring?
No.
See, that's kind of what I'm saying. I think it really does depend on the child, like the kid. Like I said, there's a lot of factors, but I just don't think that what the media is doing by saying that, violent video games make your kid violent, that's a really, really dangerous, generalized statement, so I'm just shaking my head.
I could give you what I think about that, but then we'd go into a big political rant. I'd rather avoid that here.
For sure.
I feel like they're deflecting with that right now. Like, they don't want to put the blame on the real problem, so they're just trying to find anything they can, NRA. But anyways,
we always speculate. We're always speculative.
Yes. I don't know. What do you think about? What do you think about this, Shannon?
You probably don't want to get me started, but
get that cannon going.
Yeah, like everybody's saying like Elena, like you were all saying, you can't take that specific and that granular of a stance on something that involves so much behavioral input from so many more environmental factors.
Sure.
You have to look at the overall situation and what is compiling like onto that individual when they're playing or what's going on in their lives. They might, see something in a video game that it triggers them, but ultimately the what's causing the trigger is an outlying factor. So to put that on video games, I think that's a scapegoat. But
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think it's an accurate assessment.
I think we can all agree though that anything in excess is kind of a bad thing. I think anything in excess, exercise, water, because no, just playing. But anything in excess is can be dangerous. It has the potential to be dangerous regardless of what it is. So I do think video games, if you're playing it from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and it's all you think about and it's all you want to do, I do think that you should talk to somebody about that. I really think that you know, across the board, whatever it is, if you're committing your entire life to something and it's cutting into other aspects of your life, it's a problem. So keep that in mind.
If you're starting to be that smelly boy, you need to start like examining like where your where your priorities are. I mean, if you can't put down the video game to take a shower, drop a deuce, and like maybe shave that beard, that neck beard you got going on, then
go to your job.
Yeah, go to your job, pay your bills. Like then, yeah. I mean, just stop, take a minute. Humble yourself, maybe realize you need to step away from the game.
And talk to somebody if you need to talk to somebody. If it's that serious and you need help, man, don't be afraid to ask for help. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So let's move on to our weekly consultation. Now, this is going to be a very Nintendo Switch-centric segment here, so I apologize for anyone out there who's not a Nintendo Switch fan. But some of the games that we will be talking about here are on other platforms as well, so hopefully you'll get something out of it at least before we move on to our week in review. Now, I want to start off with Hollow Knight. Shannon, you've been playing this, right? All right, I've been playing it too. So Hollow Knight, for anyone who hasn't heard of it, is a game. It's an indie game that was kickstarted, and it released on PC last year, and it is a Metroidvania-styled 2D action platformer game. And you play as this little bug creature, and you're in this dark, gloomy environment full of other bug creatures, and you're exploring the world and getting power-ups and new abilities as you go, and getting access to areas you didn't have before, the whole Metroidvania spiel. But this game has gotten a lot of buzz on PC, especially last year. A lot of people were putting it on their top 10 Game of the Year list last year. And I have been very interested in this, but I didn't get the PC version of it because I knew they were working on a Nintendo Switch version. Now, the Nintendo Switch is the console exclusive to this game. They don't have it on PS4 or Xbox One, so the only console you can play it on is the Switch right now. This game has been in development on the Switch for quite some time, and people have been clamoring for it. And as we all know, at E3 last year, Nintendo announced it during their E3 presentation, and it dropped that day, and it's $14.99. So a lot of people were really excited they're finally getting their hands on that game on the Switch, including myself, because I really wanted to check it out, and I knew that playing it on the Switch, I would just be more apt to pick it up and play it more than I would on PC. Now, Shannon, I'm going to let you start off here because were you familiar with this game before it came out on the Switch?
No, I wasn't, not at all. But a fellow friend of the show, Dan Bird, we had been talking through Facebook Messenger, and he had turned me on to the Yoku's Island Express. And when the news dropped that Hollow Knight was coming to the Switch, he immediately messaged me and said, "You need to get this. Like, this is a game I think you would enjoy." So, for a $14.99 price tag, I was like, "Sweet, I'm on this. I'll jump on." I loaded it up, started playing it, and like you said, it is a gloomy, monotone colored game.
But even though we say that, it has a very strong art style to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually got some really beautiful art design in this game. Like the bug creatures themselves look like who said it last week? That I think it was Elena, where the game kind of looked like a Newgrounds.
Yeah, it was,
like kind of
style, like hominoid type of aesthetic.
Like Castle Crashers kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does very much look like that, but the world around you has a very cool art design to it. And even though the game is very dark and they have a lot of muted colors and like the color palette is very limited, every area has like a different color palette and a different art style. And it on the surface it may not look super cool, but when you dive deeper into it, the game is actually really cool in the art design. Now, are you a big Metroidvania guy, Shannon?
I've always wanted to be, but not having the consoles to play Metroid games.
What about the Castlevania games?
Yeah, even that. Like, I mean, I think I might have played the first couple Castlevanias, like if they were on the Super Nintendo, but like pretty much after that, I stayed away from it. Like, it was a good game.
Well, the Castlevania series actually didn't turn into the Metroid-style gameplay until Symphony of the Night on the PlayStation.
Yeah, so I stayed away from them. Like, I kind of felt like it was just I missed my niche on those. Like, I had friends that like loved them, but it just wasn't. I don't know what it was. There was always something else that came out that I wanted to play more.
But you have played games like this before, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because this is one of my favorite genres of games. Like I adore this style of gameplay, and then this is the progression. Like the exploring the world. Finding that new item that gives you some kind of new ability. It lets you go to areas you couldn't before. And I even like the backtracking and stuff like that. So when I saw that this was a Metroidvania game and people were just highly praising this, like I was already sold. But I grabbed the game, and have you played SteamWorld Dig 2?
Yes, and I loved it.
Does this game remind you of that?
No.
Really, it does me. Because with SteamWorld Dig 2, you have this town that you kind of start out in, and then you kind of go down, and then you kind of dig deeper and deeper into the world and explore. And then you come back up periodically to go back to the town to purchase new items and upgrades and blah, 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 and whatever. It's the same way with Hollow Knight as well. Like you jump down the well, and you keep going deeper and deeper into its world, and you got to come back up to the surface to get your upgrades and stuff, then go back down, explore more. It kind of reminds me of how it works with SteamWorld Dig as well.
Yeah, I can see that. I understand that argument. But the one thing that I liked about SteamWorld Dig is when you got down to a certain spot, you could quick travel back to that town. And maybe I haven't found it yet, but in Hollow Knight, you got to walk all the way back to that town if you want to
teleport, please.
There's a fast travel system.
Is there? Okay, so then I guess I just haven't maybe found one yet. Like it's not the benches, is it?
No, there is a giant bug that sort of kind of looks like a bus station in a way.
Oh yeah,
cool.
It has a bell.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you ring the bell, and this big bug will come out, and you hop on his back, and he takes you to wherever you want on the map.
Now, what do you need to? Spoiler maybe, but what do you need to unlock that? Because I haven't
reached the area.
I have, and like he's like the train is there, but like I can't.
You gotta press the button, boo. Press the button.
Did you ring the bell? Did you jump and hit the bell?
I might not have jumped. I just kind of like swipe the nail at things and hit everything on the screen and see what breaks. I mean, that's pretty much what I did.
Yeah, there's a little bell, and you have to hit the bell and ring it. He doesn't come until you ring the bell. But I think it was after I beat the second boss in the game is when I got access to him, and then I could get to town quicker. Because I agree with you. Like at first, like it's really hard to get back to the town. And here's the thing, because when I first started playing this game, I was kind of put off by it. And the reason why is because you start the game off with literally nothing. You have a jump ability, you have a attack, and then you have this ability to where you have this meter that you can fill that every time you kill an enemy, it gives you more like juice in this little circular meter. And you can hold down the A button to charge yourself up and heal yourself, and it depletes that meter. So that's how you heal yourself in the game, is you have to consistently destroy enemies to fill that up, and then you hold it down and it'll deplete, and it'll raise your HP back up, or your hit points, or whatever you want to call it. And then there's also attacks that you get in the game that uses that same meter. So sometimes you have to decide, do I want to use the juice in that meter to pull off certain attacks, or do I want to save it to heal myself instead? So there's kind of a strategy to playing the game to kind of figure out what you want to use that meter for. And that's all you start out with within the game, is just to be the ability to heal yourself, jump, and attack. That's it. And there's no map system or anything like that. So I'm jumping around in these areas and like the main world, and I don't know how to get back to where I was. Everything looks the same, and it's really hard to navigate around that area. You have the game is very Dark Souls in its design philosophy, because it drops you in, it gives you little to no information about what's going on, no sense of direction. And if you die, you lose all the currency that you collect, and you have to go back to where you died and kill a silhouette of yourself in order to get everything back. Now, you don't level up in this game or anything like that, so you're not going to lose experience points, but there are these little rocks that you collect in order to spend them on new abilities and stuff. So you kind of need those in order to get more tools to help you progress through the game. So it sucks when you do lose them, but I haven't gotten to a point in the game where it was so difficult where it wasn't easy for me to get them. I've only died like once in the game so far.
Well, la-di-da, good for you. I've died so many times. It's
this game can get very tough, and the further you progress through it, the tougher it gets. But so far, I feel like it's fair. Like there was one boss that I fought that just destroyed me at first. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? There's no way I'm going to beat this guy. And then I went the second time, and all of a sudden, like his attack pattern just clicked with me, and then like I barely got hit by him, and I killed him easily. So like the bosses are really the difficulty curve here is sort of like a Dark Souls game where once you hit that boss, you really got to kind of figure him out before you can take him out, and that's no different here. But at least you're on a 2D plane instead of a 3D plane, so it's not as complex, I feel, as a Dark Souls game. But to my point, my original point, you have no map system, but you eventually meet this like cartographer, like NPC in the game that will give you a map of the area. I'm like, all right, finally, now I have a map so I can see where I'm going. But the map doesn't tell you where you're at. It doesn't fill in itself as you discover new areas. So it was basically useless to me. And I'm just like, man, like, why did you give me this map if I can't even really find any use for it? And then after you get the map, you go to the town, back up to the town. There's a shop that opens up, and this vendor will sell you pieces for your map. So you can get a compass to where now it'll show you on the map where you're at on that map. Then you can buy markers that will mark like what the locations of benches are where you can sit down and rest, save your game, and heal. And then there's also like locations of vendors you can put on there and stuff. And then you get a quill that will fill in the map for you as you progress through the game. Now, this is all shit that you get standard with any other game like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like all that crap, it just comes like standard with the game when you start, you know, with the mapping systems to kind of get you into exploring the world. And this game just takes all that away from you and makes you kind of grind currency, these little rocks throughout the starter area in order for you to purchase all this stuff. And then it kind of starts going along. So I was very frustrated at first when I was playing this game because I had no sense of direction. I had nothing to help me figure out where I was or where I was going or anything like that. And then once I started to obtain all those items for my map and kind of built the map up, then it started to click with me more. And like I was kind of getting into it more. Did you have a problem with that also, Shannon?
Yeah. Like I didn't really, I kind of stumbled upon the shops after I met that map keeper or the cartographer the first time. I kind of went up to the town just to kind of clear my head for a minute because I was a little frustrated. So I went back up there and by accident found that the shops were open. Like, once I went to him, I found that item shop was open. So then I went back in there, and then, like you said, I bought the quill. I bought like some markers that made it a little easier to navigate. The bosses, I didn't feel in the beginning were too challenging, although there's one boss in the forested area I'm at right now that's just wrecking me like every time I go down there. And like even with the patterns and knowing the patterns, it just sometimes I'll twitch. I think my muscle memory like twitches like just a little too much and gets me too close to one of her attacks, and then I get obliterated. So, and then I got to go back and get my, all my stuff back, or my all my beads or whatever they are. And I think I might have done that maybe like 6 times, and the closest bench to that boss was a couple screens away. So it was a little frustrating. But yeah, it's definitely, I don't know what it is about the game. I like playing the game. I keep going back to it. But at the same time, there's something about the game that infuriates me every time I play it. So it's
sounds
like
more and more like Dark Souls the more you guys talk about it. Like all I'm hearing is Dark Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls, which means you were both masochists. Like that's all.
That Dark Souls design philosophy that you don't like is definitely in here.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's not as brutal as a Dark Souls game can be. But I think there's some hurdles that you have to get through in the beginning of this game before it really clicks. So at first I'm just like, man, I don't see what people see in this game at all. But I kept playing it, and the further I got into it, the more I started to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Now I still think this game's overrated. Like, I'm just going to flat out say it right now. Yeah.
I did not expect you to say that.
Yeah. People love this game to death. And I like the game. I think it's very much worth $15. Mm-hmm. Playing it with a Joy-Con is a little tough because there's no D-pad. And I really wish I had a D-pad.
Yeah.
The Pro Controller's D-pad is dog shit, so that doesn't help either. I really wish Nintendo would give us a Joy-Con with a D-pad on. I know you can like buy kits where you can mod them in there, but I've heard they're really tough to do, and I just don't want to fuck a Joy-Con up because they're too expensive. But yeah, like it's the game is good. It's well designed, and I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to take some of the positive things about Dark Souls that some people may see as negative, but they are positives if you're into that kind of style of gameplay. And I like games where they drop you in and it has a sense of discovery to it. Like they just don't flat out like put markers all over the place. Like, hey, you go here and get this, and you go here and get this. Like you have to kind of figure it out for yourself. And I do like that, but I would like some sort of sense of direction, at least point me, or at least Dark Souls says, hey, go ring the bell. So I'm like, I don't know where the fuck the bell is, but I know if I find it, I got to go ring the damn thing. At least that gave me some kind of, objective. And this game, I really don't feel like it really tells you anything unless I'm just not understanding the NPC dialogue, which I don't have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this game is good. The more I play it, the more I like it, but I don't see it ever doing anything to knock my socks off like the impression I was getting in the gaming community. Shannon, do you agree with that at all? Or
yeah, I do. I think the items are a little high priced for the for some of the prices that they're asking for the quality, for the benefit that it gives you. And the grind to get a lot of those after you kill the bosses can be a little daunting if you mismanage your orbs or whatever you want to call them, tchotchkes for the lack of a better word.
I was calling them rocks. These look like little geo rocks or something.
You guys have your own individual nicknames for these little items.
Well, the game won't tell you shit. Like it's just...
No, it doesn't. It doesn't really give you anything. It just jump in the hole and kill stuff. And if you die, it's your fault. But yeah, it's I think it's a good game. Is it like a game of the year contender in any way, shape, or form? No. Like I will beat this game just because I bought it, and I will never look at it again.
So is it because of the difficulty as well? Is the game too difficult? Because it sounds like it's no.
It's not difficult. It's just like Josh was saying. You have to learn the patterns. You have to be patient. And you have to just strike when you can and be able to manage your aura so that you can balance your strong attacks with healing yourself.
Okay, so it's just more demanding. It sounds like it expects more of it. Okay, that makes sense.
For me, I feel it's too grindy. I feel like I'm doing too much shit to get things that I should have from the start, especially with that map system. With a game like Metroid and even like Ori and the Blind Forest and stuff like that, like there's the other games that are similar to this, like there's that carrot on the stick in the beginning of this game. Like they either give you a cool narrative that keeps you going, they kind of give you some cool little power-ups that are easy to reach at first, and then it starts to ramp up, to where it kind of eases you in a little better into the experience. Like there's nothing like that here. Like it's very bleak right from the start, and it just throws you in there. And I just feel like the beginning of it isn't designed well enough to really hook you into it. I think if it did a better job at just opening that game up like the first hour or so and really kind of easing you in and giving you what the game does best from the start, I think this game would be a lot better. I think that pacing is a problem for me, and just the lack of giving you the tools that you need to progress without having to spend lots of needless grinding in order to get there is my issue with it.
Yeah, I mean, easily just to get the quill, the markers, and all the stuff to complete your map, you're probably looking at like 500 to 700 of those little rocks. And then, that's easily like another piece of that shattered crystal that you're trying to put together, or like a key that you can use to get to another area. Like, that's a lot of orbs to be like running around and grabbing just to fill out things on your map.
And not only that, is that map's very important for you to navigate and know where you're at too. Like if you're going to do that to me, you should have done it with like some kind of power up or something that I would need to progress. Like not the map, like the map is very important for me to figure out what the fuck to do in this game.
Yeah.
And for you
Why you
to
gotta do me like that? Why you gotta do me like yeah?
Yeah, so it's just to take it and just dismantle it all and just throw the pieces around. Like, here, just keep collecting these stupid rocks so you can get all these pieces of something crucial that you need to enjoy the game. It was a screeching halt in the beginning of the game for me. Even though I'm past that now, like I didn't really start enjoying the game a lot until I got past that hump, more or less.
And now you're still mad about it. You're still thinking about it. And you're like, man, this is bullshit. I can't believe I had to do all this just to get here. And
yeah, so now I'm just kind of like, you know what? Fuck this game. You know,
savage.
Yeah, and like Luminous is coming out on Tuesday. I'm just going to be playing. I'm going to be playing this, and that's $15. I'm going to be playing the shit out of Luminous when that game comes out. I'm not even going to think about this game once that game drops. You know. So
and your replacement will be here Monday.
Yeah. So it's just hard for me to because I was so sour on it in the beginning, and I'm gonna try to motor on and still play through this game. Like it might hit that point, that aha moment for me that everyone else seemed to have that I didn't get. That I might like this game more. But as of right now, I think it's a well-made game and it's good, but it's a certain type of experience that some people may be turned off on from the beginning. A lot of people apparently are not, but for me and Shannon, it seems to be. So, yeah, I don't know. I was really going in, I was expecting to just gush over this game.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting too. I'm surprised to hear this. Because
I can think of every game that's similar to this that people loved, like Shadow Complex. Loved that game. It was amazing. People gushed over that one. Ori and the Blind Forest, amazing game. People gushed over that one as a Metroidvania game. You know, all the major Metroid games and the major Castlevanias and all that stuff. Like, I love those games. And then this one comes out, and yeah, I'm just like, I wish I liked this more. So I don't know. All right, we can move on from Hollow Knight. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to discourage anyone from buying this game though. Like, I think Shannon and I are in the minority here.
It sounds like you're just telling people what they're getting themselves into, which is a little bit of a grind fest to start. And as long as you're ready for that, you'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, and there's some difficulty here too. So if you want an easier experience, you're not going to get that here too. The game's pretty tough at times. But yeah, still give it a shot. For $15 is worth the risk. You know, and I don't think it's going to be much of a risk for most people unless they don't like really challenging games.
Yeah, this game's going to slap you around and you're going to like it. That's pretty much like if that's your mentality, get the game. You'll like it.
Gotcha. All right, so Shan, I want you to tell us about Yoku's Island Express because I'm really interested in this game. I knew nothing of this game until Zach mentioned it to me. You got to play this. And he said, and I quote, "This is a pinball Metroidvania game." But he didn't say Metroidvania. He just said Metroid game because he refuses to use that term.
That's about right.
Yeah. So as soon as he said that, I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. Like, well, how the hell does that even work? So please tell me, how does that work?
All right. So, like I said, Dan Bird recommended this to me. He was just like, dude, you got to play this game. It's awesome. And I was just like, I'll give it a try. I'm bored playing video games. So, I loaded it up on my Switch. And you're this dung beetle who, who gets put on this island, and you're going to take over for a letter carrier who's retiring. So you get put on this island. The letter carrier gives you your bag, and you're pushing this like pebble with you. I don't know what it's not.
Poop.
Yeah, I was gonna say they can't make it poop. So like it's this white ball that you're just kind of tethered to, that you're pushing, that you kind of carry your mail in. It's your mail delivery system.
I guess the strangest dung beetle I've ever heard of.
Yeah, so you're basically like pushing this ball, and the first thing they tell you to do is get to this town. So you have to traverse. So there's a lot of platforming. So you're like jumping around. And as you jump around, you start to notice that there's these bumpers on the ground. So you are going over to these little bumpers, and you hit either the left or the right trigger. They're colored. I think there's like a orangish yellow one and a blue one. So it lets you know which one's left, which one's right. And then some of them are multicolored for both colors. So it doesn't matter which one you hit. It's going to rocket you up into the air.
Are they colored based off the Joy-Cons, assuming that you have a neon Joy-Con?
No. No.
Okay.
They're just, arbitrary colors just so you know which one's which.
Okay.
So you get up to this town, and once you get there, there's this island deity that has been attacked by another evil force. So basically what you have to do is you have to rally the other key figureheads on the island so they can all get together, heal the deity, and then you have to find out where the evil monster is that attacked your deity and destroy it. So each section that you have to go to for these main key figureheads, you get into this you get into their location, and each section that you walk into, the ball falls into like a hole, and then you fall into this screen that turns into like a pinball type setup. So in each setting, there are requirements that you have to hit inside the pinball area to unlock gems, which will open up the room and allow you to progress through the rest of the stage to get to the guy or the figurehead that you're trying to get to. So you have your platforming in the beginning with just trying to navigate through the world. And it's all like an open world area. So there's going to be some areas you're not going to be able to get to until you get the appropriate power-ups or abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and through the course of going to these figureheads, you're, having all these extra pinball moments. And they're fun, dude. Like, I didn't think I was going to enjoy this game, but it's very brightly colored. There's a lot of side quests. There's a lot of extra things to do in the world once you beat the game. You don't have to just linear, like, it's not a linear thing. You can go to any of the parts of the island pretty readily. There is a nice fast travel system built into the game that you do unlock by getting like coins or orbs or whatever it is. I forget. I've played so many things where you have games where you have to collect stuff.
Yeah,
they're all just kind of blending
all of
together.
them.
But
All of them.
yeah, but you basically get all these collecting whatevers to unlock other bumpers, which will then rocket you higher up onto certain pedestals or send you over to different parts of the island, transport you basically all over the place. So they're really easy to get because you can play those pinball levels like over and over and over again. So like, I mean, if you really like pinball and you're really good at it, you can stay in that in that pinball section and just steal everything in that area. Like, I mean, if you're really good and you just want to unlock the next area and get out of there, you can. But if you really want to stay in there and get like 100 of, or like hundreds of these, like, things that you need to unlock around the island, you could do that easily. Like, there's nothing that makes it feel like you're grinding for, to get it. It's just a fun way to kill time. Like, you're just like, oh, I like this level. I guess I'll just stay in here for a little bit and just muck around with it. So, and just to see how it works, see what this does, see what that does. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the mess out of this game. I beat it. And then I still have a lot of like packages to deliver, to like overdue packages to deliver. And, there are a couple other places on the island I haven't gone yet because, I have to do some things to unlock, certain characters. So all in all, I enjoyed it. It was a great game. It was like 8 hours. I think it took me to just kind of get through the whole thing.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, it's a good time killer if you're just looking for something that's bright, entertaining, and you have some time to kill.
If you want to be a busy beetle, buy this game.
If you want to be a dung beetle.
If you want to be busy.
A dungless dung beetle.
I know, and that's the thing too, is like you can go into the town and you can go into like this, I guess, like glamour shop, and you can
glamour shots.
Yeah, and you can unlock certain decorations for your pebble. So you can get like a little slime ball. You can get like a rainbow ball. You can get whatever you want. Like you can get a whole bunch of different styles. So
that's cute as hell, man.
This game reminds me of just what it sounds like is Sonic Spinball. I
never played it.
See, that was like a platformer, but it was like a pinball game at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I really like that game. So I'm kind of interested in this.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty.
So there's an actual world to explore, like it's a continuous world that you explore in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So it's
yeah.
not just broken off into chunks of levels then.
No, it's basically they tell you there's 3 figureheads. Go to those 3 guys, and they the map is, and they give you the map in the beginning, so you'll like that. And then, but it's covered in clouds, so like you can't really see everywhere. And then like when you get the quests, like the markers get put down, but you still don't see how to get there. You just kind of see them where the marker is. You kind of see like a vague like outline of the area, and then it's on you to get there. And then as you're discovering and going through these pinball levels, and you're discovering more of the world, the clouds go away, and you discover like, hey, I can't really get to this guy right now because I need something to get up to this ledge. I can see there's like this flower thing here. I don't know what it does. I'll probably figure it out later. So you can kind of abandon that area, like just kind of make a mental note on the map, like this is where I go when I get this power, and then go off and try something else. So. It's fun, and I like rolling the ball off of like a really high area, because like that your beetle is just kind of tied to it, and the beetle just ragdolls. Like whenever the ball gets launched, this poor beetle is just like ragdoll like all over the place. So if like you get into a real good like rhythm with your pinball things, that poor beetle, man, he's just ragdolling all over.
Sold. You just made a sale, sir.
Yeah, dude, I would get it. I want to say it was like $15, or I think it was either $15 or $20. I'm not 100% sure.
There is a physical version of this game, but they want $40 for it.
What?
Yeah. And it is on PS2 and Xbox One as well, and it's $30 for the physical version. But yeah, I thought I saw that it was $20 digital.
Yeah,
that's like double the prices for a physical version. That's kind of rough. I mean, I know there's the Switch tax. That the fabled Switch tax, which they'll charge you like $10 extra for the game, usually in physical form. But
you get a dung beetle if you buy the physical form.
You get a plush dung beetle.
He's got to be on a little poo, or else I won't buy it.
Yeah, there's got to be poo involved.
It's $20 on the eShop for Nintendo right now.
Okay, no poo, no sale for you. How much was that again? I'm sorry.
$20.
$20. Yeah,
$19.99.
I might grab it because I'm not getting Mario Tennis.
I know. I want to talk about that. Like, I was kind of bummed when I heard that review. I mean, like, I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of reviews about it. So Mario Tennis comes out tomorrow, actually, of this recording. When you guys are listening to this, it will be out now. I was looking forward to the game because I thought it was going to have like this really cool adventure mode to it, because I know Camelot is involved in making this game. They made like a really cool Mario Tennis RPG back in the day. Mm-hmm. I was expecting like this cool adventure mode from the game, and I played the demo or the network test or whatever that was, and it seemed like it was fun. Some of the power-ups felt like a little overpowered to me. It could get kind of annoying, but whatever. But the reviews came out for the game, and a lot of them were, I mean, the game was getting pretty good reviews, but a lot of them said that it felt like the Wii U Mario Tennis, but just like a lot of the assets were just reused, and they just added some stuff to it, and that it didn't feel like a real new Mario Tennis. And then the other big complaint was that the adventure mode in the game is really bare bones, and it's really short. It's not very fun, and the AI is really super cheap, and it can get really frustrating. So after I read all that, and it was multiple reviews said this, like they gave the game like a 7 or 8 or whatever, but they were all complaining about how the single player sucks, and that is primarily an online game, and it feels more like a fighting game than it does a tennis game. And after reading all that, like I'm just like, yeah, I'm
How does a game like that warrant that kind of rating? Like if the single player is I just don't understand that type of ratings nowadays. It doesn't make sense to me.
I guess the online play is so good that they bump the score up for that reason. But I mean, I'm not going to play it for multiplayer. Like I want cool, fun, engaging single player stuff in this. And I mean, a tennis game can be great single player. I used to play the hell out of like the Top Spin games and Virtua Tennis and stuff like that.
Virtua Tennis, man, that takes me. Oh man.
Yeah, and even some of the older Mario Tennis games, but this one doesn't really seem like it's got a lot of good stuff in there, and what I was expecting we're not getting. So that's why I'm done.
Elena, were you ever interested in this game?
I I mean, yeah, but I can only be interested in so many games in regards to finances unless it's on sale. So, yes and no. I mean, if it was an amazing game and my dad bought it and didn't play it, because that, to be honest with you guys, like that's how I play the majority of my games. Is my dad has this tendency to buy video games, not play them, and is like, "Hey, Elena, I got this game. You want to play it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fool. Like you haven't played it. It's been 6 months. Let me play it." You know. So that's kind of how I play my video games at this point. Now that I'm making more money, that's a little different. But no, I didn't have any intention to buy or play this unless the reviews were splendid, because I really do like tennis games like this, and I'm looking for some more games for my Switch. But no, after I heard the reviews, I want a good single player mode, and I feel like across the board this is just something that's getting not ignored but kind of pushed to the wayside over multiplayer. So it's a little frustrating for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if my boredom is gonna overpower my willpower. Like
overpower your wallet.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like right now, I mean, the only reason I've been playing these smaller games is because there's no real big titles that I really wanted to dive into, and like Aces was supposed to be that game that I was really, gonna hopefully sink my teeth into in some type of single player type game. To hear that, yeah, and to hear that, I mean, like it really took the wind out of my sails. I was really kind of upset about that.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of big stuff coming out till like what, September?
Well, Octopath Traveler comes out in July, so I mean,
that's right.
I'll probably pick that up.
Yeah. Speaking of, they just dropped a new demo for that game.
Yes, sir.
I downloaded it. I have not played it yet, but we did discuss the old demo before. Elena, you've been playing this, right?
I have been playing this demo. I played the original demo with Primrose, the dancer, and that plot was
it's heavy.
Astonishingly good, though. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if I've told this to you guys, but I typically don't go for heavier theme type of narratives. I don't like things that bum me out or depress me, but just the I don't want to get into it too much, but there was some discussions or some themes of sexual abuse and like human trafficking, and it was really, really kind of scary, and it left an impact on me. And that's why I was so excited to download this after I saw the release date for E3. But I'm not super keen on it. Primrose's story, they started with the best, and I worry that the other stories won't match my expectations, because as of right now, Primrose's narrative is by far the best by leaps and bounds, and the other ones are just kind of there, and I'm waiting for them to get good. And I understand I only have 3 hours of gameplay, but I'm waiting for it to get good. And I understand this is a JRPG, so I know what to expect. I have to wait for the game to get good, essentially. Like I have to wait for the plot to thicken, but I don't, especially after I found out this game's going to retail, for $60. I don't think I'm going to buy it. I wasn't tremendously impressed with it. And I understand the game will last 60 hours, main plot, and then could be up to 80 hours with side quests. But as of right now, I'm not tremendously interested. It's the plot that's not getting me, and I want it to be different, but it's not. So
is the game still super grindy in the beginning?
Yeah. And it's still really plot heavy, where you're reading a lot of dialogue, and it's it's basically a book, and I knew what I knew what I was signing up for, but it needs to be a good book if I'm gonna buy it. If I want to read it, but if it's not a good book, I'm going to put it down. So
I'll agree with you on that. I think all of the characters are very long-winded, and I don't generally care about much of what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't. Why did you guys choose Primrose first as like the first character? Like, was there any particular reason?
So back in the original demo, Primrose was the only selectable character, and I actually specifically didn't select Primrose this second time. I selected Cyrus because he was a little cutie and I like smart guys, so I picked him.
Okay.
And his plot is not interesting. He's I don't really care about him yet, and I feel like I should by this point. And even the characters I've met along the way, their stories are a little bit more interesting, but they don't hold a candle to Primrose. And I feel like my expectations, and this always happens to me, I get on that hype train and then it crashes. And
okay,
I thought the original demo did have multiple characters.
Really? Because I could only remember playing Primrose. Maybe I'm mistaken.
See, so I haven't played this demo yet. I'm going to, so I'll report back how if my opinion changes on it. But I remember the original demo. Like, I think you could select multiple characters, and they give you like a little synopsis of what each character is about.
Maybe it was Primrose and some other guy. Maybe
Yeah,
a girl and a guy.
there was another guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember Primrose's story just seemed more interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I selected her as the main character to play as. And yeah, I very much got a really cool narrative, but I didn't play as the guy at all. So I can't really comment on his storyline at all. But I just remember playing the demo and the art style being like amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The game was gorgeous. But I remember getting to a point where I hit a boss and the boss was just absolutely destroying me right from the start. And it's like, I knew I'm going to have to sit here and grind experience and level up and all this over and over and over and over again in order to beat this guy. And normally an RPG will kind of ease you in like a little easier.
Right.
And then they kind of ramp it up to before you hit that point. Like with Final Fantasy VII, I don't think the game got grindy until like halfway through. Like at least it got a good 15, 20 hours out of me before it kind of hit that point. This game does it
before
right
it
off.
started. Yeah, before it started asking more of you. That's actually part of the reason I like the game right off the bat, and that's part of the reason another game I'm playing right now, Bravely Default, is sticking with me so hard. And the thing is, I'm playing Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default at the same time, and I keep putting down Octopath Traveler to play Bravely Default. And man, that game has aged well. I don't want to get off topic too much, but it's just they do everything right, whereas Octopath Traveler is kind of trying to jump on that. The combat system for Octopath Traveler is really good, but when I think about how much dialogue I'm reading per compared to how much, how many battles I'm having, it's not, it's substantially less. I'm not fighting as much as I'm reading, and the combat's great, but if I'm going to be reading as much and I don't like the book, then what's the point,
Yeah. Bravely Default was a game that I liked at first, but it quickly lost interest with me.
Why?
But I can't remember why. It was so long ago that I played it.
Probably too grindy, dude, because man, that game is, if it wasn't for that, the only reason why I like Bravely Default as much as I do is because of the auto battle and because you can speed up gameplay, you can speed up battles. If it wasn't for those two core game mechanics, I would hate Bravely Default. I would be like, this is insane. Why do you expect me? How dare you expect me to do all this? But being able to expedite the process is like, oh, cool. So I can do this while I'm watching a stream or while I'm, doing something else. It makes it a lot easier. And Octopath Traveler doesn't have that, so I worry.
Yeah, and so when it comes to JRPGs, it has to have a lot of different variables in order for me to really enjoy it. So it has to have enjoyable characters.
Yes.
It has to have a good story. And it has to have a good battle system that's not overly difficult and grindy for me.
Okay.
That's why I love Final Fantasy VII so much. And I know that's a very cliche game to love, but I don't give a shit. I love the fuck out of that game. I love that game story. I thought it had a really cool story right from the bat. Like you really like those characters, and the games, just the way it progressed was really good. They had an amazing soundtrack. The battle system was fun. Everything about it was just so well put together that even though like a turn-based battle system isn't the most enjoyable thing to me in a video game, if you get all the other pieces right, like I will gladly put up with it in order for the sum of the whole thing, so if it fails badly on a number of those, like you can have a great story, but if everything else sucks, I'm not going to play it.
Yep.
You can have an awesome battle system, but if your story and your character sucks, I'm not going to play it. Bravely Default, just out of that concoction of things that was going on in that game, it failed in at least two of them, and I can't remember what. It was probably narrative and characters. I don't remember those.
I'm really digging the plot, and that's the thing about Bravely or about Octopath Traveler that I'm struggling with is like I don't care about these characters yet, but I'm so invested in Ringabel and Agnes and Tiz and Adia. They're all cool characters. And another thing I really like about Bravely Default is you get all those characters right away. You know what I mean? And you're able to build that relationship from the get-go. Like their relationship becomes more and more, has more depth to it as you go along, and you care more as time passes because they're there with you the entire time. And I'm on this JRPG kick right now. The 3 games I'm playing are Octopath and Bravely Default and then Ni no Kuni. And I like how you kind of listed a trifecta of things that are needed for JRPGs to be good. And Ni no Kuni misses it for me on the characters. The plot's good, and man, is the battle systems amazing. It's lovely. It's so good, but I'm not invested. And it's a game that I want to beat and I know I will beat, but when I'm done, I know I'm going to put it down and I'll never play it again, you know?
Yeah, Ni no Kuni 2, for me, the characters and the plot didn't kick in until at least like 2 hours into the game.
Have you made any progress in that game, or
I haven't touched it until like came out.
Right?
You know, what's her name? Tali or what's?
Yeah, the little archer girl. Yeah.
Yeah, she kind of looks like a cave girl in a way. It's like the cave people or whatever the hell they were. When you get her and you leave that area, like you befriend those people and you go into that first like strategy, you know, like RTS kind of moment where you're like doing the kingdom, like, you know, army marching thing. Like right after I did that first one is where I stopped. And it wasn't until I met that Tali character or whatever her name is. I think that's or Tammy or something like that.
See, we just don't care.
I completely forgot her name. But it wasn't until I reached that point in the game where I actually started caring about the story and the characters in that game. Like I didn't care about the little king dude at first until like you started to learn more about him and why he does what he does. I still didn't give a shit about the stupid president guy that just kind of morphed from present day to some other dimension.
Yeah, he's like, I'm cool here. It's fine. I'm not going to ask any questions or trip the fuck out. But here we are.
My limo was destroyed and I blacked out and I wake up.
Yeah, my nation was bombed and
I woke up in another kingdom and I'm just like, let's go help this king save the universe. Why not?
I don't care about my citizens, clearly. Like I'm not invested in their lives in the slightest, but I'll go help this guy in his kingdom just because I'm in for a journey. Let's do this. I'm 20 years younger. I'm invested. That's the thing too. That was such a cool, when I saw that opening intro in Ni no Kuni, I was like, oh my God, this is so different. I cannot wait to play this. And then they did nothing with it, you know, and I'm like 20 hours in at this point. I don't even know, 20 or 30, because I hit like an addicted phase where I just couldn't stop playing because I can't emphasize how good the combat system is and how easy it is to just lose hours at a time playing that game. But I've really reached a point where it's not enough for me. And it is so important to have, you know, these perfect key elements all line up for a perfect JRPG to be a classic, you know what I mean? Like to go down. And it's funny too, because I feel bad because I've never played Final Fantasy VII. I've been waiting for that remake. So I know. It's like Lord of the Rings. It's one of those things I'm just kind of waiting to participate in, you know, and I'll be 50 by the time I do.
One of the JRPGs I can think of that really did it for me that was similar to that was Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, like both of them. I loved I love the characters, the story, the music, the battles, and like all of those were, I mean, and people give Chrono Cross a lot of shit, but I love that game. I might even like it more than Chrono Trigger, actually. And that's probably not something that too many people say. But also Grandia 2 for the Dreamcast.
Yeah, that game was awesome.
Yeah, that came out on PC and PS2 as well. They have a PC port that came out not too long ago. But Grandia 2, I have it on the Dreamcast still, and that's one of my favorite JRPGs because, again, it had an amazing story, and like just all those pieces were just awesome. I remember the main character was named Ryudo, and for the longest time that used to be my screen name on like all the like gaming shit, like in like the late 90s, early 2000s or whatever. So like my EverQuest account or something was like Ryudo or whatever.
RuneScape.
Yeah, RuneScape. But yeah, so. I understand what you're saying though. Like like all those pieces have to be there in order for me to enjoy it, and that's why when it comes to JRPGs, I really like that genre. But I'm also extremely picky.
Yes, I am definitely a wait and see type of. I mean, I am across the board, but even more for JRPGs, I really need to know what I'm getting myself into. I was wondering, how do you guys feel about the price point for this game? Because I feel like $60 is a little much. I understand that it's, you know, a 50-60 hour game, but it's pretty. I don't want to say rudimentary because the game is beautiful, but like, come on, like it wasn't as difficult to make as some of those other, you know what I'm saying?
It looks like an indie game, but at the same time, I think it's trying to be pretty ambitious. So I understand, but yeah, I think $40 probably would have been a better.
That's where I would have probably contemplated the purchase, but at 60, I saw that and I was like, I'm not buying this game. Like, I'm not. There's no way.
Unless this becomes one of those games that are like super rare, you know, like Xenogears or something. Like, I could see this game dropping in price pretty quick.
I'm hoping because I might buy it if it drops, but otherwise, I'm also waiting for the reviews because another thing is I don't know yet why it's all 8 characters and what they all have to do with each other, and I think that was done on purpose. But I am curious to see, how these characters tie together because as of right now, they're all just kind of like, why do I care? What are they all doing together? What's the overarching plot rather than their own individual plots?
It is also kind of funny because I started with the hunter. I can't even pronounce her name, but she wrecks, dude. Like, and you guys were saying like it felt grindy in the beginning for you guys. Man, I had no problems with her because she's got like a pet that like has infinite summons. First of all, like so you can just summon him like anytime you want, and anytime that dude comes out, he hits all the targets on the screen. And he hits them for over like 200 points of damage, like every single time. So, I mean, like if you really wanted to be cheap about it, I mean, like
pick her.
Pick her and like just run through and just keep summoning her pet like the whole time. Also, like once the enemies get low enough, she can capture them and then she can use them as summons. Granted, like they don't have like an infinite like summon amount. Like there's usually like a number attached to them, and they don't attack everybody. They'll attack one enemy, and you don't get to choose the enemy. It's just kind of like random who they attack. But yeah, I mean, she seemed pretty overpowered like from the get-go. So I really didn't have a problem navigating the world with her as my main character. And I thought it was pretty funny because I mean, she seems pretty law-abiding, or follow the rules of
lawful
the
neutral
world
type of character.
Yeah, and like the first character I ran into was Therian, the thief, in one of the other towns, and like his story is just like he got caught like stealing, but like how you have to go through like the first chapter of like their story before they jump in your group. So like the first chapter basically of his storyline leads up to him getting ready to pull the heist, right? And like I was her, and then like he's like, so you're gonna join me? And you're just like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna steal some shit, like like I'm just gonna jump into this. So it was really kind of funny to just kind of it was kind of disjointing, I guess you could say.
Right. I completely agree with you. Like you meet up with these characters and and this is another thing that I keep thinking of Bravely Default because it's so about the interpersonal relationships between the characters in that game. But when you meet a new character in Octopath Traveler, it's not like, oh, nice to meet you. We had this, weird, awkward, or this situation where we meet and we develop a relationship. It's like, no, you want to join my party? Here's no dialogue. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
I hate that, especially for a JRPG that's, really plot driven and relies heavily on the narrative. Like, come on, that's just lazy. That's lazy.
I like when RPGs do that too, when like they'll have like some kind of cause that you're fighting for, and like it takes like no effort to make the other characters join your cause.
Oh, you hate Sephiroth? I hate Sephiroth too. Let's go.
Who's Sephiroth? I don't like his name. Let's go kill him.
I don't like his haircut. I don't even know him, and I don't like his hair.
His sword's too big.
Then leather pants. Ugh, disgusting.
Who does he think he is going Hot Topic in the middle of summer like that?
I hear he likes AFI. I'm angry.
Yeah. So yeah, when it comes to Octopath, I'm not sold on it. I need to play this demo again, but yeah, I think I'm kind of with Elena. I think $60 is kind of a hard sell.
It's rough, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of months.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so let's hit our week in review before we head out of here for this episode. So, Shannon, what you got going on this week, man?
Nothing. It's a pretty chill week.
Any weekend plans?
My wife is going to a plant night with her friends, and they're going
plant
to
night.
Yeah, so like
succulents and stuff.
Yeah, you know how there's like a paint night, where you go drink wine and try to be artistic.
I've done that before.
Yeah. So it's the same thing, except it's with plants. So like you make these nice little decorative plant formations that you bring back to your house that our cats will ultimately knock off of the shelf. So, or use as a litter box, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be sand in there.
There will be too, and there's. Oh man, I cannot wait to see those photos. We all come full circle with those poos, man. There's going to be poos.
Is this like a Cali thing? Because I've never heard of this before.
It's funny that you mentioned that because my coworker just went to a plant night with her mother-in-law, and I was like, "What the fuck is plant night?" I mean, you assume what it is, and you're pretty correct right off the bat because it's a night where you focus on plants and planting. But yeah, it's basically you just drink wine and get drunk and make up little cute little plant succulent thing.
This is some hippie shit. I don't like this.
Dude,
I don't like change.
California has you hear that one thing starts to catch fire, and then they start adding hundreds of different varieties of it. So it started with paint night, and then there's plant night, and then there's now there's yoga with goat night, and you can do yoga
with goat.
Yeah, you could have goats running around, and you can do yoga, and the goats will jump on you and hang out.
I thought goat was an acronym for some hippie bullshit. They're actually with a goat.
Yeah,
they're
dude,
actually with
check
a
it out.
Oh
Check
my
it out.
god.
But
Are you still drinking wine with the goat?
That's a good question.
Maybe afterwards, but not while doing yoga. That
you want
seems
some of this rosé?
Yeah. But they take that ball and they run with it, man. There's probably anime with wine. There's an anime night probably where you can get drunk on wine and watch some.
It's true though. Cali's big on fads, especially when it comes to foods. There are food trends all throughout the Bay Area that will be, the biggest deal for 6 months and then just never be visible. We had this thing, Dragon's Breath, that was trending. I say trending like I'm on Twitter, but that was big in the Bay Area, and it was basically just Captain Crunch with air in it, so you could blow. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Shannon, right? Tastes like shit, cost $9, but everybody had to do it, and I am one of those everybody's, and it was not fun, and I was mad. I was like, this isn't delicious. This is catchy, or this is hip. Why did I spend money on this, man?
Yeah, it's you freeze Captain Crunch in liquid nitrogen, and then you eat it.
Yeah, it's absurd. It doesn't taste good. It tastes like nothing. I was mad. I wanted sweets, and I got hot, cold air in my mouth. I was uncomfortable.
Now I'm not so sad that my existence in Ohio isn't so bad. My boring, plain existence where it's state fairs is about the most exciting thing we have.
You can plant plants in your backyard. We have plant night because we don't have homes.
Oh, that makes sense.
I was gonna say real talk though, in Palo Alto, which is across the bay from Elena and I, there is a house. And it's 800 square feet. And it has a 100 square foot in-law unit that's detached, and it is going for $2.6 million right now. So that means if you paid $500,000 for that house as a down payment, your mortgage on a monthly basis would be $12,500.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and people are losing their minds. And it's probably going to go over that. Just because it's in downtown Palo Alto.
I'm just losing hope. That's all I'm losing. I'm not losing money because I am where I am right now, but we're just stuck. A lot of us are just stuck. I know a lot of people who are leaving the area. There's really nothing we can do about it. We try raising the cost of minimum wage, and that's just raising the cost of everything else. And I don't want to get too much into this, but yeah, California is beautiful, and I love living here, especially having lived in Ohio, but there are pros and cons for sure, and there is an appeal to living in the Midwest. Trust me. Peace.
There's always Fresno.
No, never.
Anybody
I've been to Fresno.
I have friends who live in Fresno. Y'all, I love you, but I'm sorry.
Fresno was the most Ohio city I've seen in
Boss, that's so accurate. Actually, I've never thought about it like that.
It's it was the only city in California I was in that had a Walmart.
Oh no, you didn't go to the East Bay then.
Apparently not. So because we stayed in a hotel in Fresno on part of our trip that we took in California, and I'm just wow, I feel like I'm in Ohio here.
If you find a Kmart, you're in the boonies. That's how you know, man. Because I think Kmart's went out of business, but you'll still find one in certain areas of California. I swear.
It's like Blockbuster in Alaska.
Right.
Yep. Did you guys hear about this story that they're stopping the Star Wars spin-off movies now?
Yes.
I am kind of sad about that.
I know, dude. Robbie just named his kid Kenobi, and now there's never going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
That is exactly why I'm sad about that. Because out of
that
all,
one, and you'll be okay. As long as you get that movie.
Yeah, out of all that spin-off shit that they've been making, I could care less about. I went and saw them, so I was there. I paid the money. My ass was in the seat because it had Star Wars in the title, and I actually really liked both of them. But still, you could have never made them, and I really wouldn't have cared. But that Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, I wanted that shit bad. I would rather have that than Episode 9.
I know. Poor Ewan McGregor. He's never gonna get that.
He was the best part.
He earned it.
Yeah, he was the best part of those damn prequel movies. And that guy got the shit end of the stick. And he deserves, I mean, if anything from that prequel trilogy deserves to be sort of plucked out of it and revisited in a new movie, it's
Jar Jar. Oh,
no,
sorry. Yeah, no, it's Obi-Wan. It's Obi-Wan. It's Obi-Wan.
Actually, I still think they should have a Jar Jar cameo in somewhere.
God.
Like, where's Jar Jar now? But he's probably like mopping floors somewhere or something in a cantina. But yeah, so like, I mean, I don't care about the Boba Fett movie they were talking about. I don't care about Solo 2. None of that stuff. That Obi-Wan movie I was super excited about because I would love to see Ewan McGregor do his thing with a better script and a better director. And I don't know if we'll ever get that now.
Yeah.
I guarantee you will. It's just a matter of 10, 15 years before they decide to do it all over again. I bet
he'll be like super old by then.
That's a good point. It won't be him. I don't think you'll ever get that movie. So
yeah, I don't want that movie unless he's involved.
You only that's cute. That's actually really sweet.
Yeah, I apparently I'm a Ewan McGregor fanboy here.
Yeah, I can tell. I get that vibe.
Yeah. You got anything to leave us with, Elena?
I'm just trying to resist the urge to not spend money after E3. Splatoon 2. There's a lot of Octo in my life. Octopath Traveler, Octo expansion. I'm trying not to buy the expansion for Splatoon 2. And it's good too because I was doing some research and apparently it's pretty difficult, which is great because that scares the ever living shit out of me because I'm bad at that game.
Yeah, I'm bad at it too.
Well, so the thing is, it's kind of like Overwatch in the sense that, you know, Overwatch, it's very task oriented and you have to push the payload. And if you don't, it doesn't matter how many kills you're getting. Splatoon is very much that way in the sense that, you know, you can be killing people and still lose the game. So it's not that way, or, you know, lose the online match. It's not that way for the Octo expansion where it's skill based rather than just like percentage based. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm not good at that game, but I still really want to buy it because I like Splatoon a lot, and it's something I catch myself playing when I need a break from all the, you know, RPGs and Overwatch.
I like dressing my squid person up more in that game than I do anything.
Really?
Like if you could just have fashion designer squid kid, like I would buy that shit. You know, like what was that stuff?
Awesome.
Was that Style Savvy? That game they had for on Nintendo DS where you would like be a fashion designer? They should just let me fucking dress up squid kids.
You always surprise me with some of the shit you say, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, you know how they have like the little camera features in that game too, where you can take like selfies of them like together, and they have little cool poses, and they're looking all like b-boy status and shit. Like I love that stuff, man. Like I did that more than I played the damn game itself.
Did you dress your squid for stats or for aesthetics?
Just for aesthetics. I just want them to look cool.
My squid is ugly, but those stats are solid.
Nah, man, I wouldn't put anything that was beneficial unless I looked fresh as fuck in that game.
I feel like that's important. You should get buffs in mid game for style points. Like, let's say you have like a really fly outfit that like a lot of people like uprate. I wish you could uprate outfits. That would be really cool.
I think you can, can't you?
I think you can. Maybe I don't play the game enough, but I don't focus on that aspect of it. But I think you can just uprate the like little art they make. I don't know.
I thought there was a vendor in the game where you could switch up like the stat boosts that the clothing.
Yeah, you can. But let's say you go to somebody because there's somebody standing and there's a lot of people standing in the middle of the city, right? And you can go up to them and see the art they've posted or whatever, but you can't like upvote their outfit, right? Because I've seen some people who look really fly and I can buy his shoes, but I can't be like, yo, man, I really like your outfit. Your aesthetic is on point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I always use a squid girl too because I think the squid boys look dumb in that game. They look less dumb in Splatoon 2 because they don't have that dumb hairstyle that they all had. That was the same in the first one. They have cooler hairstyles, which I'm cool with now. But like
you can switch them up too. I really like that. Yeah,
I still think the squid girls look significantly cooler, so I always rock the squid girl. And yeah, I'm like, I even had that shitty Nintendo like online app on my phone just so I could like get some extra unlocks in the game because you can actually use that app to like get extra clothing that you can't buy like in the normal vendor. And yeah, I was all about it, and then I just stopped playing it altogether.
That app is horrendous because my nephew plays. My he's 8, so we play together. He's really good. He's savage. It's kind of embarrassing when he kicks my ass, but I downloaded that app so I could, hear him because there's no voice chat, and that'll ever for always and forever be a complaint of mine.
Fortnite does.
Way to bring it. Let's save that for next week. But let's save that.
They
it's
Fortnite.
Yeah, and oh man, I so want to talk about Fortnite right now, but I wish they had done more with that, and I'm really hoping next gen Nintendo really pulls their head out of their ass in regards to that, because I should be able to talk to my nephew without having to download a separate app and it be kind of hot garbage. You know what I mean?
I think they're backpedaling on that because apparently a few patches ago is when they enabled something in the software to where you can actually use headsets now, voice chat headsets, and Fortnite was like the first game to really tap into that. So I'm wondering if something will change there. Like maybe they realized it was stupid. Once you had a squid peripheral that had like 40 wires attached to it, just a voice chat. Yeah, they may be backpedaling on that decision. I don't know. I'm waiting to see what they do with that app when the actual online service comes out.
That's true. That's true. I think it'll be a lot more fleshed out once that comes. So
if you still need it to voice chat, that's dumb. But I'm hoping they use that app for some cooler uses, once that service drops. Yeah. So I don't know. We will see.
We will see.
All right, so that is going to be it for this episode. We'll have Zach back next week, and then we'll talk about our super cool next-gen topic that we really wanted to dig into. And yes, that Fortnite Sony fiasco has a lot to do with that, so we will very much get into that. So to close the show, don't forget to follow us all on Twitter. You can follow That Pixel Life at Twitter's at That Pixel Life. So that's where our main Twitter account is, to follow that for show updates and everything. And if you want to communicate with us, that's the way to do it. You can follow me at JD Falky. You can follow Zach at Zackle, Zakal. It keeps doing that.
I love that though, Zackle, man.
I fuck that up every time. Yeah, Shannon is SHMore0317, and then Elena is Honey Baked Hella. What is the story behind that name, by the way? I like Honey Baked Ham a lot or something.
So I actually don't. I got food poisoning, and it was a food I refused to eat for a long time. But then there's no story behind it per se. But my friend, when I was living in my last house, he made ham for Thanksgiving after I had a fat hangover. And I had been in bed for, I think, like 14, 15, 16 hours. It just knocked me on my ass. And he made ham, and it was delicious. And that changed everything for me. But I was also exceedingly baked. You know what I'm saying? I'm going and saying here. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm also a big fan of as a caking, baking in my room, and getting some Thanksgiving dinner up in my tummy. I was very happy. And
you're a bad influence, Elena.
Drugs are bad, kids. Drugs are bad. You will
never be an elevator mechanic.
Look at where I ended up. Look at how unhappy I am. Oh, I'm being a little bitch right now. I'm sorry. Everything in moderation, y'all. I think that's the point of this podcast. I think that's one takeaway. But no, Honey Baked Hella. I like alliteration, and I discovered I like ham, and I get high a lot. So that's it.
All right, that makes sense. I got it now.
Fun facts. Fun facts.
Yes. Don't forget to leave us some iTunes reviews as well, if you guys don't mind. If you use Apple stuff, go and drop those for us. It really helps us out, actually. So
yeah, thank you for the 5 stars, guys.
Yes, absolutely. I guess the more reviews you have, the more you kind of climb the visual ranks in iTunes. So it really helps us get more eyeballs on us. So do that if you can. Shoot us some DMs on Twitter if you guys have any feedback or anything you'd like to suggest for the show. And also spread the love to your friends. Share this podcast with everyone, and hopefully they will enjoy it as much as you do, unless you don't enjoy it. And then in that case, I apologize. But that's why you use the DMs and Twitter to tell us why you don't enjoy it. So otherwise, that'll be it for us this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for sure, and have a good weekend.
Bye.
Holy crap, I'm late for my Bikram goat yoga.